58089 public forum. We have one signed up, so I'll read this quickly and then we'll allow that person to speak. Anyone wishing to speak in the public forum section of the meeting will be required to sign up before the meeting. A sign-up sheet will be available prior to the start of the meeting. The board appreciates patrons taking time to talk to us about our policies and procedures. We set aside this time in our meeting to hear from the public. We ask that your comments be directed towards board policies or procedures our administrators established to carry out those policies. The purpose of the public forum is for the Board of Education to listen, not to interact. Speakers are to state their personal views or their group's views and are not to direct questions to a Board of Education member or to an administrator. In order to avoid repeating the same items over and over, you might want to have a spokesman or two designated to represent the views of the community. This is not an appropriate time or place for parents, patrons, or staff to make comments of a personal nature about any district employee or student. Persons making comments which violate the privacy of other district employees or students will be asked to terminate their remarks. Persons using inappropriate, derogatory, or offensive language will be asked to terminate their remarks and may be asked to leave the meeting. If the audience does not adhere to the guidelines as stated above, the public hearing will be ended immediately. If a patron or parent has a concern with one or more employees, they should contact the superintendent. If the concern is about a superintendent, please contact the board president or clerk of the board. Each speaker must clearly state his or her first and last name. No one will speak until the board president recognizes him or her. Each speaker will be limited to the amount of time set by the board president. We have one speaker tonight. Board, are you okay with 5 minutes time limit?
Yes.
All right, so each speaker will be given 5 minutes to speak, and we'll stop all comments at the end of the time limit. So, Mr. Wan,
Yeah,
you
want me to come up there?
you just stand where you're at,
I'm good
would
with
be
that.
fine, and
We'll
I
move
just need first.
underdressed, I think, for the meeting, but Raylene understands if you run off the road.
I do.
Anyway, my name's Mark Wan, and what else am I supposed to tell you?
Just your first and last name?
All right, we got it. All right, mine won't take 5 minutes. Was doing some reading about different ways that they were gonna get money or something like that, and it was a Senate Bill 223 that was proposed. Anybody heard of that? It was like crickets when I asked a question before on Facebook to the USD 407 Facebook page. I guess that's not appropriate to communicate with questions there. I could have called. You know about it. You were a proponent of it. So was Jason Krug. So was Mark Mai. And I won't go through the whole list of names. Whatever happened to that? And if you're the wrong audience, I ask to be advised which direction. I have a second question to that if you're not the right people.
Do you want me to
Do
engage?
you all know
Yeah,
what that
that's
is?
fine.
You do, you're Brett, right?
So you're referring to the countywide sales tax that we tried to get. So
Yeah, that's right.
it was advocated for. Senator Bowers drafted a bill.
Uh-huh.
Then we testified in front of taxation. Ultimately, the request was denied. They weren't going to grant us authority for a couple reasons. One being they wanted a platform where nothing looked like an increase in property tax. And second reason is it would set a precedent for schools because to date, only one countywide sales tax has been given. And that was under special circumstances deemed an emergency, and that was in Rawlins County due to a fire.
Okay, yeah, I couldn't ever find an answer out on, I looked everywhere. Internet's not a good place for some things, so I appreciate the answer. What was the first reason that they gave you?
They didn't want anything to kind of perceive an increase in property taxes.
That's
However,
what they're-
ultimately, that would have lowered property taxes. Yes.
Oh, is that right? Okay, so
Well, it would have relieved.
the way I read it was it would relieve the possibility of increase in property taxes.
It would.
I think that's why a lot of people were kind of, hey, this is a good idea.
Yeah.
But it's not something that can be pursued at all.
We would need someone to draft another bill on our behalf and then.
See
go for
where
the
it goes
best.
and
Yep.
might not go anywhere.
Correct.
Is that something that the commissioners do?
It has to come through them.
That's what I had read, and I was wondering if that was true.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I had, so,
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thanks, Mark.
All right, moving on then to 58090, consideration of a bond election.
We have two audience members, guests. We have Mandy Trout, who's been our co-chair, and Troy Schaefer here to answer questions. I invited Mandy to give a recap of the November 19th public forum that we had with the community.
All right, and this is just kind of an overall of that November 19th meeting at the Dream Theater. One of the points of contention that we found leading up to it and that evening is talking about the $1.5 million AC for the Russell Junior Senior High. That just happened to be a pretty big sway, I think, on some of the voters. But we thought it was a very important thing that we included because we thought it really would bring some good business to the Russell community. And so that's why, you know, with being able to have extra the volleyball tournaments and having the tournaments during the summer and things like that, that was something that we liked. We did include in the original bond, but that was a point that the price of it, what could be done, what's something else that could be done, and things like that just pretty much frequented the Facebook keyboards during, like, leading up to it and right afterwards. The other thing was that kind of after the fact, people voiced their opinion that the plan was not forward thinking enough, but also based on the meetings that we had and going to the Senate and trying to look at a countywide sales tax and trying to look at a city sales tax, what that could have done for us. But the dollar amount of what they're wanting, and then also the fact that they're not wanting that the people that were there not wanting any adjustment to a property tax was they kind of counterbalance each other. They counteract. So we were getting things from all over the place of what was feasible and what was not feasible for a bond issue. And then a lot of the discussion also didn't have anything to do with our bond. It had to do with what was going on with the county property taxes at the moment. And you know, looking through, and I mean, and this in the last week, that's been a concept that's been kicked around quite a bit because the new valuations and stuff have been coming out and the new property taxes. So, you know, those are things that I think as the board moving forward, deciding what you're going to do with maybe a possible March bond, if these are things that we think that we could possibly overcome in the next 3 months. And there's just a lot of different avenues that we did look at, but then there's also been a lot of things that have been brought to our attention that maybe we could have done it in a little bit different manner. And we have to decide if that is something that we're going to be able to really do an adjustment to before another bond goes out, before another option for that moves forward. One thing that I know is you know, is it going to be feasible with more publicity? After going through those meetings and all the previous meetings, we thought we tried to do a pretty good job of getting the information out there. But I also do believe that if you don't want to know the information, you're going to be able to hide from it just as well, no matter where we do put that information. And without any changes, and just solely based on publicity, is that something that we think is going to be a feasible thing for to put on a March ballot. So it's you guys are lack of a better word, taxed with a very difficult situation of thinking of kind of putting all these things together moving forward. The meeting it kind of bounced all over the place, and it really didn't have a whole lot to do with the bond. Do people think that we need to do something for our schools? They absolutely do, but then they also look at the fact that, you know, what they're already paying in their property taxes and what just happened within the last couple weeks with the property taxes coming back out to see where they're going to be moving to. So that's really not a recommendation moving forward, but it's just kind of an overview of what we did see at our meeting on the 19th. So, any questions?
I was there, so I'm not gonna ask any questions.
there you go.
Thanks, Mandy.
When's the absolute last day that we,
Everything has to be filed by like December 8th.
Yeah, 7th is probably about where you want to
Yeah.
go.
So this is our week.
I mean, in light of what was talked about earlier with Joyce and I, the city, wanting to maybe meet with us about a 1/4% sales tax on their end, I would like to see where those numbers come in. I know it's gonna be very minimal though. I bet you that it's less than a mil drop in this. I guess we can proceed with this if that's what everybody wants to do. I think if we're gonna push this HVAC project at the high school with the gym, and I think it needs to be done, I think we need to talk to Mike Parsons and Development, EcoDevo, and see what, the last time we had a sub-state tournament in Russell, how much money that generated. They should be able to pull those numbers for that particular time frame. What was it? Gates alone was $14,000 on our end for one weekend of sub-state. Was that wrestling?
Basketball.
Basketball? That's pretty huge for that.
Sub-state baseball,
Basketball.
basketball.
Uh-huh.
Basketball. If we're able to get the volleyball tournament here, it'd be probably the same, maybe more money. I don't know how many more teams they have.
At this point, they changed it.
Changed it.
They changed a little bit.
Well, I know with the work we did with the basketball goals now, we are set up to where we can host volleyball. The only thing we have to meet, the criteria, is the temperature.
Right.
Which
Yeah.
according to the state, you have to guarantee the temperature won't exceed 80 degrees. So the HVAC would, I think, allow us to host some regional sub-state volleyball, which would be an opportunity to draw in a lot of people to the community.
And the other option would be to drop this off the bond and we pursue it ourselves through lease purchasing. And I know nobody wants to put the board in debt, but that may be how we have to do this. That's just what I'm thinking. I don't agree with it.
Lease purchase?
Yeah. Basically, you're borrowing money against your capital outlay.
So what is the consensus, board members? Have you heard, if that were dropped off, would that drastically increase the amount of people who would vote to pass the bond?
Well, I'm going to tell you that I had a daughter who attended that night at the meeting on November 19th. And the gentleman sitting beside her said if that were to be dropped or lowered, that he would vote against the bond, whereas this time he voted for it. So, I mean, you have that to consider as well.
Because that was a lot of the feedback I got prior to the ballot, the 1st of November, was if we don't put this on there, if you don't put HVAC on the bond, we're not gonna vote for it. And now we have people saying, if you don't take it off, we're not gonna vote for it. So I think it evens itself out, really. I mean, I can see the benefits of leaving it with our bond issue, and there may be benefits of taking it off. There are other items, like we've talked about, playground resurfacing and things that need to be done. Those are a little lesser dollar value, I think. But And I don't know, after our last gathering, we had kind of said, let's go forth with the bond as is. Was kind of the consensus.
Mhm.
Well, and that was the consensus that night too, to put
Yeah.
it back as it was, go back at the public and more education. And not only just the education, but letting them know that they're giving us the authority to spend that much, but not necessarily do we have to spend that much. Because that was one thing that was brought up that night was, this is a $600,000 project, you got 1.5 million. We don't know where it's gonna be, we haven't put out RFP, so there's nobody that can definitely say this is where it's at. You're giving us cost-based estimates. I've got a friend in the field that's telling me a different number than what everybody else is even throwing out there, so until you go to RFP, you have no idea exactly what it's gonna cost. When we're throwing a bond, or putting a bond out for a vote, you know, they're just giving us authority, just like our budget. Just because we're having say a $20 million budget doesn't mean that we're gonna spend 20 million. We don't even take in that much.
What other options do we have about putting information out? Does anybody know? I mean, I thought we did a really good job of.
I don't know what you do, because I thought we did a great job too. Mandy had worked her tail off her and some others to
Yeah.
do that. And
I think we utilized the radio, we utilized the newspaper, we had multiple community forums, open meetings, opportunities for people to come here. And then towards the end, those were poorly attended, so people had opportunities, they just chose not to come. You know, personally, I think you had plenty of opportunities to be educated. I'm not highly electronic, so I don't do the online, and maybe a lot of people my age don't, but it's a couple clicks to get to the radio, KRSL, and they do a good job of posting that information, if you don't get the local paper.
And I think there's more people that don't get the local paper. And it's not because it's not a good product, it's just that they don't subscribe to it. And it's just like the radio. I did some online looking, you know, to see what other districts, what was it that Oakley did that we hadn't done? And I mean, it was a comparable sized community. The only thing that they did is that they pushed out a video that was very, very well liked on Facebook. And that video was, I mean, it had all the bells and whistles to it. And, I mean, there were other communities that, well, Goodland, I mean, there were more bonds that didn't pass than did. But I think the thing that one thing didn't have was that video that really, because we all know that a picture tells 1,000 words, so.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, if we don't go forth with this in March, or even if we do and it doesn't pass, then we have to wait 2 years.
No, we,
Is that-
2 in a calendar year, correct? So we could
Yes.
go.
You can go August or
Okay,
November.
okay, so it's not 2 years, but we can only have it brought forth twice
Yeah.
in a calendar year.
Correct.
Okay, all right. I was wrong.
so, you know, the thing with their videos was that I think a lot of theirs was outside stuff. Somebody's gonna have to get down in the tunnels with a GoPro
Well, yeah,
and go film piping and,
or drones
Or-
on the inside.
yeah, because that's what most of ours is infrastructure inside the building.
Yeah, I know, I know.
And so that, I mean, it makes it a little tougher, but I guess if it has to be done, give me the GoPro, I'll go climb tunnels. It's not gonna be something I'm gonna enjoy, but I'll do it if that's what it takes.
We have several guys that have GoPros, so.
Oakley's also passed in coordination with the sales tax.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I mean, that's how most of them are going now. And so I think, I mean, I just don't, see the city 1/4%. We can pursue it, but I don't see it making that big of an impact.
But you know what? A little impact will.
Anything helps.
Anything will help.
Yeah.
I mean, hand in glove kind of thing, work together.
And I personally feel like it's a great gesture, the city asking us to come sit and visit regarding this. And, you know, that'll, if we decide to move forward with that, and they decide to move forward with that, that'll be on the ballot. Whether that passes or not, I don't know. But, you know, I personally feel like the community came together and did a good job of trying to support the bond. There are just a few items and issues that I think allowed for it to be defeated. And I really hate to see the momentum die at this point. I, for one, feel like the tornado shelters and safe and secure entrances, they're a no-brainer. If we don't do something and something happens, it would be tragic.
The thing that gave me hope was the number of young families that are moving back to the community, and they were fully supporting it. Their parents, the family's parents were supporting it, and I honestly thought that it was a very viable proposition for everybody. I hate to see it go down
I do too.
without
I
a
think-
fight.
I'm a firm believer that we should try it. I really believe that.
So, can we approve this tonight and then add, if the city would approve that, can we add that later, or does that have to be part of our plan?
If there
To
were
the
any
state.
changes like that to happen, what you would have to do
Addendum.
is, no, you just have to make sure that you tell that story, because what is published is gonna show a 12 mil increase, and that won't be republished that way. So you're just gonna have to say that this shows this because, but a sales tax would actually lower it. So people are gonna see what this says in the newspaper, and that's not gonna change. It won't be amended or anything, but it would impact it. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, I know what you're
Yeah,
saying. We-
and that has to pass by vote also.
Yeah, and that has to
Yeah.
pass
Oh,
city
sure.
council,
So we can't just
Now,
assume.
would that have to pass city council, or would that be an election for the people?
Well,
within?
they have to put it on the, they have to approve it to put it
But
on
then
the
it will
ballot.
be for the people who
Yes.
live within the city
Yeah.
limits.
If city or county were to pursue it, they would each have to.
Put it on the ballot.
Yeah, just like when we were pursuing the county, just because the state would have approved it, the voters in the county would have then
Right.
voted on the issue. And then if it would have passed, it would have been split between the 4 districts in the county. We wouldn't have got everything here.
They
Which
would
was
have their
a
percentage.
win-win for everybody, but
Right.
it just
Didn't go.
didn't work.
It'll be interesting to see if any other district would try to do that, you know.
We should try it again.
Yeah, let's just stop. Come on, Brett.
Someone else gets to testify.
Yeah, someone else gets to testify.
So do we have to have
Well,
a motion, or?
yeah,
what do
We have a, yeah, have a motion right there.
Madam President,
Yes.
I make a motion to adopt the resolution 58090, authorizing and providing for the calling of a bond election in USD 407, Russell County, Kansas, Russell, for the purpose of submitting to the qualified electors of the district the question of issuing general obligation bonds of the district, authorizing applications to the State Board of Education for the authority to call the bond election for capital improvements, state aid, and providing for the giving of notice of the bond election.
Second.
Okay. Jane, do we have to read that resolution prior to voting on it?
You should.
Okay, so Raylene, would you please read the resolution?
In the yellow is
The
what I
yellow,
was told.
yes. that yellow section.
A resolution authorizing and providing for the calling of a bond election in Unified School District Number 407, Russell County, Kansas, Russell, for the purpose of submitting to the qualified electors of the district the question of issuing general obligation bonds of the district, authorizing application to the State Board of Education for the authority to call the bond election and for capital improvement state aid, and providing for the giving of notice of the bond election. I think that's what you just.
Pretty much exactly
Yeah.
what we read on the motion. So it has been moved and seconded. I won't reread that. Any further discussion before we vote on whether or not to adopt the resolution? None?
This is for March election, March 2026.
Yes, it would go on March. All right, all in favor then of adopting Resolution 5809? I guess we have to have a roll call vote, is what it says here.
They said if it's a unanimous vote, I don't need it, but I won't know that to vote. So Kathy, what say you?
I say yay.
Raylene?
Yay.
Dr. Ellis?
Yay.
Mr. Meyer?
Yep.
Mrs. Myers?
Yay.
Okay,
Motion passed.
I vote.
All right, we do not need the staffing executive session.
Madam President,
Yes.
I move we accept the following resignation. Justin Sullivan, custodian at Russell Junior Senior High School.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we accept the resignation as read. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passed.
Madam President,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
move we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Moved and seconded that we adjourn. All in favor? Anybody opposed?
Here's a letter.